The Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show. Welcome. I look forward to talking with you about your money. Please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. We're going to talk about how you can get rich. The slow way, not the fast way. You can also go to my website, which is jareddillianmoney.com. That's jareddillianmoney.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter at DailyDirtNap. And there are people out there, these people, who say that you shouldn't buy a cup of coffee because you will go broke. I'm not joking. And there's actually, it's not just one person that says this. There's multiple personal finance gurus that say this. This is very common. So if you spend $3 a day on coffee and you invested it and it compounded at 12% a year, because remember, that's what the stock market returns is 12% a year, of course, you would have $1 million just by not drinking coffee. This is what you say. These people say that if you drink coffee, you were just urinating the money down the drain. You were just urinating $1 million down the drain. That is also a direct quote. Yes, people say that. So let's just review for a second the motivations for drinking coffee. First of all, it wakes you up. I have a cup of coffee when I wake up in the morning. We have a Jura espresso maker, which is this Swiss coffee machine, and it is glorious. And we get these. We spend a lot of money. That's one thing we spend money on is coffee. So I get a cup of coffee in the morning, and it wakes me up. You know what else it does? Yeah, I got to go to the bathroom. I got to take a dump. And if you ever like drive by Starbucks or you walk by a Starbucks and there's like a line out the door in the morning, those are all the people who haven't taken a dump yet. So if you tell people that to save money, they have to not take a dump, it's going to make them not want to save money. It's going to make them really unhappy about saving money. In fact, it's going to form, it's like state-dependent learning. Like it's going to form this association in their head of saving money with being constipated. They'll associate saving money with being like blocked up. And that's not a good way to get people to save money. I can tell you what else is not good is telling people to set their thermostat at 86 degrees in the middle of summer so they can save 40 cents on their electric bill. By the way, if you applied some common sense to both of these situations, you would come to the conclusion that getting to $1 million $3 at a time or 40 cents at a time is really, really hard. Like, there's got to be a better way than not going to the bathroom. That's doing it the hard way. I mean, you tell people they have to like sit with their shirt off in their house and like sweating to save money. That's not a good way to tell people to save money. This is really dumb. And I can tell you why it's dumb. This is just human nature. And if there's one thing that I'm good at in the world, it is human nature and human psychology. That's the one thing that I'm good at. And I can tell you that human beings find it easier to give up large luxuries than they do to give up small luxuries. So a small luxury is a cup of coffee in the morning, and people find that really hard to give up. I'm serious. If you tell people that if they give up coffee, they'll have $1 million, they're not going to last. They'll do it for like 2 weeks, and then they'll go back. They'll just go back to drinking coffee. That's not a solution for people. And the reason it's not a solution is because people can't give up small luxuries. And air conditioning is a small luxury. It doesn't cost that much. If you have a big house, I suppose it costs a lot. It costs me a lot. But if you have a small house or a medium-sized house, it doesn't cost that much. You know, to run your air conditioner for a day is like $5. It's so, to have the house at a reasonable temperature, even 74 degrees is kind of reasonable. Like that's. There's some fat guys out there. They're like, oh, I need it at 68 degrees. Stop. Like you're freezing your wife. Don't do that. 74 degrees is a reasonable temperature in the summer. I'm totally comfortable at 74. Sometimes my wife will set it at 76 or 77, and I'm like, no, like back to 74. That's where it's going to go. So to have your house at 74 degrees in the middle of the summer is like $5 a day, which is totally manageable. So if you said to somebody, well, if you just gave up air conditioning and you could be a millionaire, like nobody would do that. They'd be miserable. So you're asking people not to poop, and you're asking people to sit around and sweat so they can become, it's lunacy is what it is. It's absolute lunacy. So let's just do the math on this. Let's say you give up the $3 coffee and you get it on the way to work, so it's 250 work days a year. So 3 times 250 is $750 a year you spend on coffee. Now, let's say you get a $400,000 house instead of a $300,000 house. You will spend an extra $70,000 in interest over the life of the loan. So in order to make that up, you need to not drink coffee for 100 years in order to make that up. So this is what I was talking about. It's not the small things. It's the big things. If you get a $60,000 BMW and you finance it, you will spend $20,000 in interest. That's about 27 years of coffee. So this whole thing, I mean, there's really no reason for it. You're asking people to just punish themselves, to live like an ascetic, but it's the wrong thing. You know, these personal finance experts tell you to focus on the little things like cutting coffee, and these millions of small decisions will make you rich. It's not the millions of small decisions. It's a few big decisions. It's actually false. So here are the big decisions. These are the things that determine how much money you have. And you know this to be true. What house do you buy and what mortgage do you get? What kind of car do you buy? Student loans. Do you get stock or stock options at your job? Investing in a business. These are the types of things that determine if you get money. Not skipping coffee. It's not the little things at all. That is false. That is a fraud. It's actually, and whole books have been written on this, on how you're supposed to just crush yourself. And it's designed to keep people miserable, and they never get any richer. And worst of all, they get frustrated by not drinking coffee, and they just give up trying to save money. So I have an answer. And the answer is to stop screwing around with the little things and start thinking about the big things. Stop screwing around with the little things and start thinking about the big things. House, car, school, that's it. If you get those things right, you got a chance. If you get them wrong, you're toast. It doesn't matter how much coffee you give up. You can't come back from that. If you bought a house in 2006, if you were just unlucky to have that timing, you can't recover from it. If you bought a house in 2010 or 2011, you're doing great. I'm sitting across from a guy right now that bought a place in 2011. I don't know if it was luck. I don't know if he was smart, but that is a financial decision that has set him up for the rest of his life, whether it was luck or not. And that's a big thing. If you get the big things right, the little things don't really matter. You don't need a BMW. You don't need to go to a school that costs $70,000. If you give up the big things, you won't have to give up the little things. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.